Welcome to Everyday Magic, Intentional Goods and Healing, the podcast, where you get to listen in on conversations with creators, where we meet the makers who supply our store with magical and intentional goods and healing. I am your host, Lizzie Rose Reese. I'm an energy healer and teacher, a children's book author, and proprietor of Everyday Magic, Intentional Goods and Healing, located in Woodstock, New York, and online at everydaymagicwoodstock.com. In today's episode, which is the first episode of this series, we talk with Kari Miller, the creator of Hey Bud Vintage, who distresses and blesses curated vintage items of clothing. She's also a comedian and a breathwork facilitator and a Reiki practitioner, and we are going to learn all about her creative magic. Kari, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you, and you are the first guest on the Meet the Makers series of this podcast.
Thank you. Well, I'm honestly just excited to be connected to you and your beauty and your awesomeness. So I appreciate it so much. I'm excited to be the first guest.
Yeah.
What an honor.
So Kari is the founder, the creatrix, I'm making up these words so you can give us your own, of Hey Bud Vintage. And I am wearing Hey Bud Vintage right now. And I have many Hey Bud Vintage pieces right here. And we sell Hey Bud Vintage at Everyday Magic, Intentional Goods and Healing in Woodstock and online. So I love what you wrote about Hey Bud Vintage, which is that you distress and bless curated items with non-denominational healing and creativity. So I wonder if that's just sort of a good jumping off point for you to tell us a little bit about this project. And I'm curious, like, how it came to be. I'm curious how it feels for you and how you do, but you can say whatever comes to mind.
Cool. It feels like very crazy and pretentious to talk about, blessing my clothes or whatever, but it really, energy carries and it means something. So it kind of just happened organically. But I first watched a YouTube video. It was like my favorite YouTuber, Jenna Marbles, bleached a bunch of her old sweatshirts and gave them new life and made them look cool and abstract. And months went by and we were all in quarantine and I always wanted to try it. I bookmarked it. I would set things aside slowly. Then I was like, what if I just change this up a bit? And altering clothes has always been fun for me. I love thrifting and kind of playing around with different looks and styles that have been around forever, but maybe have a timeless quality about them. I love a denim shirt that I can wear every single day for the rest of my life. I would do that. So I'm here for that. And it was just one day. I didn't think anything would come of it. It was literally just a hobby. I got into the whole bleach dyeing, and it was kind of interesting to me because I was kind of very focused on it the first time I tried it. I live at home. I live with my dad and my brothers. And I got to a point where I was like, I need to not be bothered. I need to be left alone with this. It's very possessive over this activity that I needed to figure out. And I didn't know why. It felt totally silly. And it ended up being so fun and exciting to see clothing change and to see the effect. And it just kept coming out beautiful over and over. And I mean, not every piece, of course, but the excitement of a good, cool sweatshirt coming out and looking so much more fun just kept exciting me further and further. And then I just couldn't stop doing it and did everything in my own closet and found that other people were interested in wearing it. So it was just really insane. And so I was in the backyard. It started in August and it's kind of summer forever out here in California. So I was out in the sun, working with water and sunshine, and the acid washing is those chemicals are not the best, but when we balance it out, it's been just such a fun journey.
Yeah, it's such a different process to take something, see potential in it, and change it or give it new life, like you said, as opposed to wanting to create something from nothing?
Yeah, that scares me. Creating something from absolutely nothing, I tend to put pressure on myself. And I like seeing the journey that something can take. It has a story, and now it's something else. And the transformation for me is just really exciting. I feel like Bob Ross sometimes when I'm working on them, because I'm like,
Uh-huh.
you're wonderful as you are, but we're just gonna see what else you can be. I'm kind of like learning all these life lessons as I'm going, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
been weirdly beautiful and meditative as well.
Yeah. And it's not your only creative pursuit, right?
No, I've been pursuing comedy. I've been obsessed with comedy kind of my whole life, but like over 10 years, I've been like dabbling with different forms. I've never acknowledged myself as an artist until 2020, which was very cool and exciting. And it was with the clothing that I started to see it. But yeah, my creativity mostly lies in like how I can create humor out of situations and life, I guess.
How has 2020 felt for that?
Boy, if you don't if you don't have some real potent experiences in 2020, then I
Mm,
don't know, you know.
I know.
It was, I mean, it's a time of reflection. It was so much looking inward, and I think it was bound to happen, but I'm just grateful that I could discover that in myself. I
Yeah.
don't know what I would have done without all that time looking inward. I'm
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah, it does seem like everybody's had to face the things that they were not facing, or, well, I shouldn't say everybody, sort of the people in my sphere, clients,
Sure.
students, friends, um, were given sort of the space and no choice to look at the things that maybe they'd been shoving aside. And I say they, like it's not me, me too.
Totally. Nobody's free
Um,
from it.
yeah. So I'm curious about your creative process, and like specifically I'm sort of thinking about when we do healing work, we really sort of set up a container, and there's the things that we do to enter into the space and the things that we do to exit from the space. And I'm curious about if your creative process has any kind of structure like that, or is it just sort of, I feel like doing something, so I'm just going to do it now.
More so the second part, but I'm this year has been learning to like kind of rein it in and try to like plan for these things. But I mean, it's kind of silly to hold that kind of expectation, I guess, with creativity. It's mostly random. It's like I will wake up and have this thought in my mind, like you're gonna bleach dye clothes today. Like
Yeah.
it becomes that. I'm a bit touchy as far as like what I'm in the mood to do, and that can be challenging because it's like, am I just in my own way right now, or is it really just not the time? Am I forcing it? So kind of writing that balance. But meditation has been major for doing that, and then just continuing to trust doing it. Like if it feels forced, I can step away and feel good about it regardless.
Yeah.
um it's so funny, it's just been such an intuitive process that like while I'm in it, I'm just fully kind of letting go to whatever happens. Like when I'm letting, like when I apply like my bleach solution or whatever to clothing, I'm listening. I'm
Yeah.
following kind of an intuitive guidance on how long I let it sit there and how long I let it change and how much I want it to transform.
Yeah.
And I try to keep my head out of it. So that kind of applies across the board. And obviously that's not the easiest thing, but it's a very exciting journey in that way.
Yeah. And it's that, I always say like the mystery is where the magic is. So if we
Mm.
knew everything, or if everything was going according to a plan, like it's not going to have that same spark feeling, because that spark comes from the mystery.
Mhm.
And I'm that way too with my creative pursuits.
Oh
It,
yeah,
you can't pay me to do it on a schedule. Like, forget it.
I
If
feel
I
that.
didn't wake up and get inspired, it's not going to happen. Like, I wrote and published a children's book in 2014. Well, I wrote it a long time before that.
Cool.
But people would always say, like, oh, so are you writing another book? I'm like, I don't know.
Like another
Right.
one hasn't come yet, so probably not, but maybe one day.
Hmm.
It's just, and I've always felt that way about writing. And many people are in the camp of like, well, just write a page a day, no matter what, just write, just write. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to write unless I want to write. And that's just kind of how that goes.
I think that's beautiful. I think it's hard for us to accept, like, when we don't go gung ho on something that we show promise in or are good at. There's like, okay, well, do you want to just jump into this structured thing where you can really fine tune it and then make money off of it and make it this thing? Every time I try to do that and build like a framework around something I enjoy, it just like starts to get uh, just not fun and not
Yeah.
as exciting.
My favorite kind of approach to that is to let the framework arrive. So instead of being the person who has to receive that creative impulse, let it flow through me, create and market, and like all of the things, and then also like create a time, like forget it. But sometimes I'll just pray or ask
Mhm.
that the structure that I need arrives in a way that I don't have to make it, like I don't have to work at it.
Yes, yes, I love that. I like to do that too. I'm like, oh, this will fall into place. Oh, thank you. This is great. This is gonna show up in its own way. Like you just show what you're excited about.
Yeah.
Uh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of that sometimes in terms of opening the store because this is how most big things happen in my life. Out of my mouth came the words, I think I'm going to open a store. And then I
Really?
described the store. This was on
Uh-huh.
July 5th.
Okay.
And then as I talked about it to people, I was like, oh, yeah, this feels kind of real. Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm just going to keep sort of dreaming about it. And then people would say, well, when? And I'd be like, I feel like probably November. Like, you know what I mean?
Wow.
It wasn't
Yeah.
planned, but it was as if it already came through in a blueprint. And I was just tapping into those pieces of the blueprint, being like, oh, yeah, it feels like maybe November. Sure enough,
Wow.
November 15th was the opening. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, and same with the location. It was like, I don't know. I just feel like a place is going to show up because otherwise, how am I going to open on November 15th? You know?
I love that. I love that trust. That's totally beautiful.
Yeah, I have learned that life is more fun and easier with it and really a lot more stressful without it. The
True.
trust.
Absolutely true. It's been big for me to acknowledge like that we're just in this beautifully chaotic universe, and I like to create that when I make art. I like for it to be a little chaotic. What I like about what I make is that I don't know how it's going to go exactly and I don't have control over it.
Yeah.
Like whatever, however, like for example, more specifically, whatever the fabric of the clothing is, like I don't know if it's going to react. I don't know how it's going to react. Sometimes it won't at all. Sometimes I'll pour my solution and nothing will happen, or it'll like eat it up into pieces. But I love letting go of control
Yeah.
and just being excited for what's exciting about it, just being here for it.
I have this like really specific image in my head as I'm imagining you making these clothes, where you're just like a little kid who's like, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen. I'm going to take this, I'm going to pour this on and be like, just like sort of wait and go and be in wonder and joy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just geeking out over cotton. Just like I see shirts that are one color and I'm like, like navy blues.
Which
I know
colors are
there's
going
going
to
to
pull
be
out of
like,
there?
exactly. It's just like so silly. That's fun.
I wonder, maybe I'm just going to say, like, I wish for all human beings
Mhm.
that we can have like a little more of that in our lives, a little more of that willingness to be with the unknown, not just
Yeah.
willingness, but like joy, pleasure, excitement, curiosity, that childlike spirit with the unknown, because we get so scared of
Hmm.
the unknown, and like understandably it's unknown, so
Sure.
there's a lot of potential for our fears to sort of run amok in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
I think it's a big, like, big lesson for me was giving myself permission to be joyful and to be silly and to like find something fun in an adult situation. Cause I feel like I'm trying to make things happen for myself. I can't
Right.
goof around, but I'm like, oh wait, but that's what I do, is I'm supposed to be goofing around. So
Yeah.
there's so much to that softening and just like being playful in any world.
Yeah. And I think it's important. And maybe this isn't important for everybody, but I feel like it's an important thing for me in my life. And then therefore for me to sort of do for the world to bring silliness back. Like to, you know, like to
Bringing silly back.
bring in silly back, but like bring silliness and joy and all of those things that we think are like not grown up. I want to bring them like back even more into the rest of my
Yes.
life.
I
And
love
that's
it.
it. I think I've been told that with a Capricorn moon, it's which is what I have, it's typical for me to be sort of more serious as a kid,
Oh.
and then like get more childlike in my adulthood.
Oh, how funny. That's kind of fun though.
Yeah.
That's unexpected.
Yeah. I'm a very serious person in general. Like you have to I have to really loosen up in order to be funny or
I
fun.
can relate to that, honestly. It needs to be coaxed out of me when especially if I'm by myself. I find myself just taking the day serious often. And I mean, it also has to do with who you surround yourself with. So it's been fun tapping into that energy and seeing who lights me up and who I can be around to expand in that playful way, because I think silly is so important right now.
Yeah. So this morning, when I was in my kitchen doing my normal whatever supplements and smoothie, and I decided to start dancing in my kitchen. It was pretty like,
Yay.
I'm so glad nobody saw, because you know, I wasn't trying to look good. I was just trying to move my body. And I did it again, like in between the store closing and hopping on with you. I was like, I had a song in my head and I just started like humming and dancing. And I was like, God, this is so good.
Oh, good. Yes,
It feels
it's
so
good.
So I'm curious if you like bring dance or music, or like, is there specific music that you play when you're working on the clothes? Or I'm curious about that.
Dancing is so important to me. It's something that's just so much a part of me. I'm terrible at it. I'm not like trained by any means, or I have a little bit of rhythm and that's it. And the rest is just all like my body just intuitively moving however it wants. But I try to do it all the time. And I end up doing it a lot while I'm creating, and music, of course, is a big part of it. I like to do, my favorite thing is to put on the Discover Weekly playlist that Spotify makes me. And I kind of just let that play. So I'm exploring new vibes and new energy, and it's changing from song to song. And I'm also really into breath work. And there's this way that I like to guide breath work as I've been studying it. And it's kind of more upbeat, like I think they call it like lo-fi beats, but it's a little bit faster than that. It's kind of like electronic music, but I build playlists for breath work while I'm listening as well. And that's really fun for me, because that's a way that I get a little bit of kind of like work done in building these playlists as I'm trying to practice guiding breath work. And I love experiencing new things, and it keeps me in this place of kind of meditation as well. But then I will go astray and just listen to like hip hop, like the whatever most hardcore hip hop I can find.
I was gonna ask what your go-to was.
Like I'll like put on like Nipsey Hussle for a little bit, or Kanye West for a little bit, just to kind of expand in that obnoxious energy and just be, I don't know. I love that energy for some reason. Yeah. It just speaks to me, and the way I dance, I'm basically twerking all the time, and I don't know why. That's my natural like form of movement, but it just happens. So it's totally embarrassing.
You were made for this time.
It's fun. I have fun.
I cannot twerk.
I can't say that I can, but I do it. And
it's twerky. Twerky.
Yeah.
More than twerking.
Twerky. Twerkish.
It's twerkish. I might be able to do something kind of twerkish. We'll see. We'll try. At the end of this, we'll do a little,
Should we?
little dance time. Okay, so comedy, breath work. What's like? Tell us about you outside of creating clothes.
It's been I feel like I'm in a major transitional stage right now because comedy has forever been my biggest love, but it's also my biggest fear to be my authentic self as a comedian. Just the fear of being how I'm accepted or received, of course. So in letting that go this year, I'm starting to find my voice and how I want to be funny, because I kept trying to fit myself into other boxes for a long time. And my comedy is very weird and it's very out there. And I'm discovering that. And some of my best videos I made in 2020, which are like short ones. Like I made a little sketch about meditation, or like being in my brain. Like I made this small series called Kari's Brain Files. And it's just a few of me just having an experience talking or about something. I'm editing another one right now that's like so niche. Like I don't know who wants to watch these, but then I put them out and people that I'm particularly humored by will also be humored by. And that validation is just like everything to me. I'm like, you get it. You see me, you get it. The one I'm working on now is like about mushroom coffee. And it's just all these different like mushrooms and references with coffee. And I don't know who's going to even understand it. Like that doesn't.
All the people who are drinking mushroom coffee.
Exactly. It's for them. So I'm excited to get that out there.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been just acknowledging like, Kari, it's going to be weird and it's going to be you. And that's kind of all.
It's probably not as weird as you think it is.
Probably not. Well, I don't know. Could get pretty weird, but I'm here.
I don't mean to take anything away from you if weird feels like a real, like a helpful descriptor, then all about it. But I just mean that every time we express our true self, whether it's through an art form or through like vulnerably telling somebody something you've been keeping in or whatever, you're giving people the opportunity to really see you, really accept you, and really love you or appreciate you, right? And this is the same talk I give around boundaries when I teach Reiki.
Oh yeah.
So you've probably heard it before. But so that's really scary because the fear is, oh my gosh, what if there's crickets? Right? But the validation, like the reward that comes when we really do it, it's so worth it. And like how many times you really express yourself and then get crickets? Most of the time you express yourself, you take that risk and you get rewarded. I mean, I would I don't have any studies on this, but I would say like 99.8% of the time, you're going to get rewarded.
Yeah, it's going to be received by somebody. And for me, it's like, if I did get crickets, that would be funny for later.
But later. Yeah.
So I've bombed before in stand-up routines, and I'm like, that's funny now. It's hilarious now to talk about a time that I just had an empty room, or not an empty room, but like a room empty of noise, I guess, just staring back at me while I'm struggling to, make them all die laughing, is a hilarious journey in my mind. So that has been it for me as far as like learning to accept myself for that and expand in that role, because that's really where I see everything, like the core of my expression. My whole mission here on this planet, it seems, is to share my authenticity through comedy and video. And I think that comes out as well in the clothing creations. It's kind of inevitable that it's going to be in that work as well. And then also in like guiding breath work and stuff, it's me talking, it's me sharing and expressing. So I kind of am excited to use them as vehicles for that expression and just create in different ways. So I see myself being in front of the camera a lot more in the future. And then I'm so excited to have this artistic practice with clothing that I can, it's just, I feel so rewarded by it. I love vintage clothes. I love distressed, like a soft shirt with a few holes in it for me is just like really exciting. And like, I just want to
Yeah.
like wear worked in clothing all the time. So for me, it's been very exciting. Also meeting people that like, that want to wear it and people that want to sell it. Like you opening your shop was the biggest dream because I would never have thought that I would be selling things in such a magical place. You know, like, oh my gosh, I love shops like your shop. I go in them all the time when they're open. That's actually what began a lot of my like spiritual journey it was literally the Natural History Museum in Washington, D.C., where I was like looking at the crystals and I'm like, oh my God, these things grow out of the ground like this. There's got to be some energetic attachment to it. So then I would go to crystal shops and just like awe at them. And then started getting to know intuitives and just kind of opening up my world to energy and just the magic that attaches to everything that happens. And so it's a dream to be selling things in your magical shop.
It's a dream to have your magical things in my shop, and people love them. And I mean, now I'm just gonna like pass a couple things in front of the camera here.
Oh, is that the root chakra thermal? Oh my goodness.
Oh, that root chakra thermal. This one, which everybody looks at, and I don't know why it hasn't gone home yet. I think it maybe is the size. It's waiting for like the perfect person. Maybe it's me.
Maybe.
I had one young tween come in with her mom, and they were like, you should get that for your older sister.
Oh,
She's gonna give it to her older
so
sister.
Funny.
Be nice.
Bit of a message. Oh, it's beautiful to look at. So I'm glad it's staying there for at least people to
It
see
is.
as they come in.
I always have it in the front because I feel like it grabs the attention, and I like it a lot. And then there's this dress.
Oh, I love working with denim has been just my favorite thing.
This is so soft.
Right? That was a lucky find.
Okay, I'm gonna show my 3 more.
Okay, cool.
So this carpenter jacket.
Oh, I love that one.
And my favorite part are these.
Isn't it funny? I love that detail. And the fact that those came out more like orangey was kind of fun too, because it kind of like accents them a little bit more.
I really love this, and it might end up in my closet.
I wore it quite a bit before I let it go. I do that for sure. Yes.
Okay, one more, which is this fairy jacket.
Oh, I love this fairy jacket. What's so fun is using water in addition to the solution, because it kind of, I don't know, it just...
Tell me, so while I get up and model this jacket.
Yeah, great. I love this jacket.
Which may or may not be for sale still.
Right. It would take convincing maybe. It's so cool. I'm lucky with that one.
What's the process? Physically.
So it's me in the side yard of my dad's house in the sunshine with a hose and a bucket of water and an empty bucket. And I really love, because some people will just do like straight, maybe a little bit diluted bleach just directly on like dry clothing has been like a popular way of doing it. But I found that by using water, you kind of can create a little bit of mystery in how it's applied. When you're looking at fabric, and you can kind of tell the difference between like, oh, this was dry because little tiny fibers will have grabbed it and not everything. It just kind of like blends it better. It gives it more like dimension, like the potency. So I take some time with it when I kind of make it a little bit ceremonial, I will say, because it is, I mean, I am practicing Reiki thanks to you while I'm doing it. So I kind of need to like create a bit of a space, set an intention. And then each piece has a different journey, goes through a different process. And one that I really love doing is like that Be Nice shirt with like the wheel. I love the like kind of universe shape that like, and then
like a spiral.
It's like a messy universe. Like it's like a beautiful, chaotic
Oh, wow.
experience. So I kind of
Yeah.
like twist that shirt into a little wheel and I put rubber bands around it. And then I apply the solution in like sections. And then I watch in wonder as I'm blessed with a beautiful piece of clothing over and over again. I kept just going like, why am I so good at this? Like, I don't hold this expectation in anything that I'm going to like come out great. Like I don't have like a super cocky energy in that way just by nature. So I kept just being like, I'm so blessed. And I'm also in the backyard or side yard. So there's like birds that I'm like listening to, or there'll be like a bee landing on me that I'm listening to. Like, I love experiencing the nature as well. So it's kind of just this just like magical little art creation going on with me and a hose in the backyard.
Okay, I have some questions.
Right.
One, so you don't know, oh, wait, let me phrase it like a question since I said it was a question. Do you know the colors that are going to come out, or do you influence that, or it really is just the mystery of let's see what bleach does to this particular fabric?
So it's generally mystery because I found there's so many ways that people make shirts and create them and start from different like base fabrics. But I've learned a lot in my experience because I've been bleaching everything in the house. Like my dad's wearing like bleach dyed t-shirts every day because I did them all. He has no shirts that are one color. And if he does, it's because he's keeping them from me. So so I can suspect, like for me, my favorites are like navy blue. I often get these like really cool electric pinks out of. Black tends to go rusty. And so sometimes it looks a little raw for me. So I will put it back. That one I did this, what I'm explaining, I put it back into a navy blue dye. And it kind of softens that rusty feeling, kind of seals like the fabric in a little bit better. So it's less bright. It's less like extreme orange. Yeah, same with that one. So it gets distressed and then resaturated in like a blue, navy bluish dye. Sometimes it's a slightly different blue, but they're all kind of different series.
Is that sort of the raw rusty color?
Yes. Yeah, I think that one is.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I can guess, and then I'm often surprised by what I end up coming up with. In that sometimes nothing will change, which is kind of infuriating sometimes because I'm like, but it's a beautiful journey into the unknown generally.
And then I think I had another question that I can't remember, so I'm going to jump to another one. So distressed and blessed, right? And you mentioned Reiki, and you did your Reiki training with me, and non-denominational healing and creativity. So what are some of the intentions, or can you talk about sort of the intentionality of the pieces? Like, is there something in particular you want them to bring to the world, or do they each have like an individual sort of signature personality, or is it just like general good vibes, or can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's been a piece by piece basis for the most part. I mean, generally for me, non-denominational healing is like, I see us all connected. I see when we all believe in something different, I think that it kind of on a core level is the same energy, is the same magical energy. And why not subscribe to that? I feel like because it just connects us all. I don't think it needs to have any kind of label. I think that we can just, I just love the idea of acknowledging source energy as whatever you want to call it. But I think that there's power in it. And I think that it helps everybody no matter what your beliefs are. Like, I don't think for me, sometimes religion can be triggering. I grew up Mormon and like was very religious for most of my life just because that's how my parents raised me. And I think it's beautiful. I think all religion is beautiful. I just think it's also important to not be divided in that way so for me, I believe in a holiness that connects all of us and that touches all of our souls. So that's what Reiki is for me. And I've found with each piece, they all kind of just tell me something different. And a lot of it has to do with what color it is now, or kind of just whatever I tune into with the thing. And I've been studying the chakra system in 2020 was another thing that I got into. So it was really cool to use the colors of the clothing and relate it to a chakra and kind of focus on that type of healing. So like red being creation, abundance, blues being expression, green being heart chakra. I really leaned into that quite a bit with the Reiki, and I thought it was really fun.
I loved it. Just went out, it just got sold this week, but the heart opening cropped hoodie.
Ooh, yay.
Yeah, it just sold like Monday or Tuesday.
Oh,
I
cool.
packed it up yesterday
Yay.
morning. But it was this beautiful, like with green and pink. And you know, with the heart chakra, I mean, chakra wise, we always see the heart as green, but so many people experience pink in the heart space. And so to have those two together, it really did feel like a heart party.
Yeah, I mean, what's so crazy about that is I didn't expect any kind of pink or purple to come through. It was just a forest green crop top that I had forever. I loved it. It was so soft, but putting a little twist on it, I was so blown away by how it came out. So that's so exciting.
Oh, yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so my sort of impression, or I'll just say this in case anybody doesn't even know what we're talking about when it comes to like energy spreading through clothes and intention. What the way that I'm interpreting what you're saying, and you can of course add to this or change it, is that the energy that you sense, that you sink into, that you're experiencing, the listening to the bees, the music, the joy, the dancing, the twerking, all of that gives or brings a kind of energy to the piece of clothing. And specifically because you have the intention that it does, right? Like my intention, I'm guessing this is maybe what you do, like that you have an intention that when you're making clothes, the energy of that space is going into the clothing in order to be shared, so that that energy is carried in the clothing to whoever wears it. And I will say that when I put this on, and as soon as you sent me the picture of this, I was like, that one might have to be mine. I don't know if I can sell it. Same thing I did with these earrings, by the way. They came in, I was like, oh yeah, those are not even going to go on display.
That's awesome.
So I saw this picture and I was like, oh my gosh, this, I love it. But I didn't try it on because I was like, you cannot buy everything in your own store. Like, just don't even try it. So it's just been sitting there. One person tried it on last week.
Nice.
And it wasn't the right size. I'm like, yeah, that's because it's my size. And so I was, dressed completely differently today. And I was like, I think maybe I should try on that jacket. And so maybe I should wear that for the podcast.
Great
And
idea.
as soon as I put it on, I was like, oh yeah, okay. Like it was just this feeling of like a lightness, like a lifted feeling. And you know, that feeling of sort of being like lifted and lighter, but also centered and clear. That was the feeling. And I was like, oh man, this is better than, like, I want to say like better than drugs. I don't really do drugs, but you know, it felt like that. It felt that that clear shift.
Wow, that's so awesome.
So good
I
job.
absolutely love hearing that. Thank you. It started as me being like, I'm going to send sweatshirts to my friends and they'll be hugs. Like, I'm sending you a hug. And then it kind of evolved. And I have never heard of anybody blessing clothing before. Like, obviously, if somebody makes something with intention, those things are charged and magical. But I never heard of somebody doing that before selling their clothing. So I felt like a total asshole in the beginning of it because I'm like, who the hell am I? I literally just learned Reiki and I'm just going to like put on these clothes that I bleached in my backyard, like all those stories. But it's been a beautiful, even if it's not, whatever, however it's received, it's a beautiful experience for me to put it into it. So
Yeah.
I'm loving
And
it.
that's the beautiful thing about Reiki. And I will say this and I'll say it over and over and over again. It's like Reiki is the simplest energy.
Hmm.
Like Reiki is a beautiful, clear, healing, soothing energy, but it's not hard to do. It's not super like specific and complex. It really is just about tapping into those frequencies of energy and allowing it to flow through you. And I say that to say that like it doesn't matter if you just like did Reiki 1 real quick. If you have had the experience of being attuned and letting Reiki flow through you, that's it. You have Reiki. Now use it however you want, right? And that's one of the things I love about the practitioner training. There are all of these things I have discovered through using Reiki that I feel are really important to teach if people are going to be practitioners. I stand by that. I know I teach Reiki differently than anybody else. I'm like very specific about a lot of things, but also you end up being certified as a free and independent Reiki practitioner, which means you can use that energy however you want. I can't put a limit on you and on that.
That's
And
beautiful.
it's things like this where somebody goes like, whoa, this energy is awesome. How can I use that to spread more joy in the world?
Ah.
Like, yeah, please let's all do that.
Right.
Can we just all do that?
Yeah, can't we just do that to everything? My friend does Reiki on her vegetables,
Yeah.
and she gave me a salad once, and I was eating it, and I felt amazing. And I didn't know she did Reiki on her vegetables. I was like, I asked her, I'm like, did you do Reiki on this? Because like I've never felt better while eating a salad in my entire life. Like I love salads,
Uh-huh.
but it was potent. And she was like, oh yeah, I do it all the time. Just
When
do a
something
little.
like, yeah, something like vegetables which are already like living,
Mhm.
there's like, I feel like they probably carry the energy even so much with so much more amplification
Yeah.
than something that isn't living in the same way. And think of like if you did Reiki on the seeds, on the soil,
Mhm.
on the growing plant, on the plant after you picked it, on the salad after you made it. Like that's so much good energy. I want it all.
Right? It's real. I think I'm gonna do like a little video experiment of having 2 leaves and just speaking really kindly and lovingly to one leaf and just documenting the difference, because
I
we
love
know
it.
that there is a major
Mhm.
difference that happens, but I haven't captured it. I think that could be something fun
That
because
would be so cool.
that's a tangible example, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, all right, here's my other question. Looking at my little list over here. Um, I would love to know what kinds of things inspire you and what kinds of things challenge you.
Mm.
And in case my voice cut out there, challenge you.
Um, I am inspired by nature, and I'm inspired by, I really love to observe my external reality and kind of see what's being shown back at me and kind of using that, kind of working off of that. I think the most inspired I get often happens during breath work, where I'm just
Mm,
like blasted with ideas. Um, and I don't know, there's just different bits and pieces along the journey that inspire me. And if I'm feeling a serious lack of inspiration, I'll go for a walk or I'll drive through the canyons nearby with music and find like a richness again in life. Plant
yeah.
medicine, too, is also a really cool way to experience light that maybe you don't feel like you're attached to, but it's kind of handed to you sometimes. That's been a beautiful practice as well.
Mm,
Um, and then the challenge has been uh, boxes, labels, trying to stay consistent with who people already see me as can be is where I find challenge, because we're ever expanding, evolving beings, and I find when I'm stuck, it's because I'm trying to be some way that's not authentic to me.
Yeah.
That's
How do you snap out of that? Or I mean, is that like go for a walk?
yeah, it'll be like shake up your energy, move your body. Dancing is a big way
Yeah.
to get out of my head and out of my body, or into my body, I should say. um yeah, that helps a lot. And kind of a mirror work has been good as well, connecting with just me and learning to love me, and remind myself that I love me, and all that. That's a major tool.
Is your mirror work really just being with yourself and seeing yourself, or do you work with phrases or words, or how has that developed for you?
I used to kind of just sit there and just stare.
Mm.
And then I can't seem to stick to any rigid way or routine when it
Yeah.
comes to that stuff. I love to air it out with something new. So it's dancing, it's kind of saying whatever I feel come up, or I have affirmations on my mirror that I'll go to
Mhm.
if I don't have something to give myself
Yeah.
at that time. Yeah, I like to keep it evolving.
Keep it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there is. So this is going to sort of develop as it comes out of my mouth, I think,
Cool.
because there are a couple of things I want to tie together here. One is this thing about sort of being present enough to realize, like, hey, I'm hitting my head against a wall. It's probably because I'm not actually being honest,
Mm-hmm.
right? In one way. Does that feel like an accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. I experience it too, and that's sort of how I experience it. So I was phrasing it from my own experience, but
Totally.
then there's also this, when you were talking about doing stand up, right? And like having crickets.
Uh-huh.
And I'm really curious about your state in that. So like you're there, you're talking, you're comedying, and there's a response which is not what you were expecting, or that is disappointing, or that is just there. I don't know how, right? And then when you were talking about that, my mind was going like, oh, so how do you respond to that? Are you like in a good centered place? And so you just go like, well, that was a bust. And then you move on? Or is there like a panic inside you? And I'm asking because I tend to still sometimes have that moment of panic when things don't go right, and it goes away much more quickly than it used to. Like I recover and sort of recenter much more quickly than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is, to me, what it has in common is the awareness, the inner
Mm-hmm.
awareness of like, what am I doing? What am I not doing? Where am I? Who am I? Am I being honest with myself? What does this mean to me? How important is this really? So I don't have a direct question, but if you just want to respond to any of that.
Yeah, I hear you. Similar to you, it's become easier to talk myself back from disappointment if like a set wouldn't go well. And a lot of that was that stand up didn't feel like my platform because it felt confined. It felt like I needed to have these this assortment of jokes prepped, and I'm working on my cadence and my delivery, and it starts to feel like controlled or whatever. But yeah, you bomb, especially in an open mic environment where your audience is other open micers who are either thinking about what they just said on stage, or thinking about what they're gonna say on stage, or judging you or whatever. There's the whole spectrum, but it's not people with just the intention to laugh. So you are given a bit more of a challenge. And for that, you can pat yourself on the back for even going up there, which was the scariest thing, was even just getting up there. And I'd bring my list of jokes and I'd get through it too fast, or I would forget my list of jokes or whatever. There's been a number of challenges that have sent me into a panic. But the fact that I went and did it it could carry on to a number of ways. I've bombed before, and the experiences surrounding it have given me more opportunity than anything else. So it's definitely a major self-love practice, and like, you're great because you showed up, you're great for every baby step that you took around it. And I don't think that there are accidents, I don't think that there are mistakes. So when it goes bad, I'm like, well, this is honestly, it's usually just hilarious later. Like, it's just going to be really funny for me to talk about later on, or it won't bother me next time it happens, or less so. I kind of just take it as experience, and luckily was never I didn't put all of my worth into it, because it didn't seem to serve me. Like, I can't put everything into my open mic experience.
Okay, my next question is, when you said that I don't remember exactly how you said it, but about not being who somebody's expecting you to be. I'm curious if you want to share, what are some of the versions of you that you're letting go of, adhering to?
Yeah. I mean, it's been so big, for especially with 2020 just being the year that it was. A big part that I've had to accept about myself is that I am not the prompt responder that I used to be, like through texting or email. I sometimes just can't get back to people. And I used to be, well, I still sometimes am like so hard on myself, because I'm like, oh, it's not respectful, it's not professional. Like, there's that critic. But in letting go of the people pleaser side of me and leaning more into the creative, just me that I am, I'm kind of softening in what's expected of me. So I used to be, fast to respond. I'll do whatever you need, like kind of a reliant person, which is beautiful to be, but it didn't feel true anymore. So I've kind of dialed back who I give my energy to and how much of my energy, because it needs to be my authentic energy. And if it's not, then, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, I found.
Yeah, similarly, I'm not the prompt responder that I once was.
Yeah.
And the reason that that's authentic for me right now is because I only want to respond authentically. Like, I only want to respond from a place of presence, or like having thought about what I wanted to say. Like, I no longer care about being the person who, like you say, like, you can rely on to get back to you immediately. I much rather take my time and answer when I feel like I can be here with, like, even if it's a text, just like, I'll see it and okay, but I'm doing this right now. And it's funny the way everything developed with technology, and like, we were in this respond.
Yeah, like a straight up just back and forth conversation via text is like nearly impossible for me. Like, I have to be you have to catch me at a good time,
Yeah.
It's certainly not like it used to be at all.
Yeah. So I say more power to us for that.
I agree. I think it's
And
nice.
just accepting that different people have different ways of interacting, like, plain and simple. It's not good or bad. It's just, we're all doing our own thing.
Yeah, we're all doing our best.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm so happy to have had this time with you. And is there anything else that you want to share or ask or put out there? Do you want to tell us where to find more? Do you have, like, how do you share your comedy primarily?
It's pretty much just been on Instagram. A lot of it is on YouTube as well, just for the sake of it being more easy to access. But yeah, I'm just at Kari Miller, KARIMILLER. And on most of the things, and then the vintage clothing is on Hey Bud Vintage, which is spelled out HEYBUD Vintage. And that's on Instagram. And that's pretty much where I center everything. I'm a visual person, so I enjoy the Instagram platform for my expression. So yeah, and breathwork stuff is going to be on there as I get that vehicle going this year, which I'm really excited about.
So have you been doing like Zoom or, like remote online groups or private sessions, or how have you been doing breathwork?
I've done a few groups on Zoom, and I've done some outside breath work, like backyards and garages, like wherever it's doable. And it's mostly been on friends and family as I've been, gaining the confidence to guide. But I'll be posting about remote Zoom sessions.
Cool.
And hopefully do some like park and beach sessions out here as well. So that'll all be on my page.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can host one through the store.
Oh, that would be
online
awesome.
Or something.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Love
Very
it.
cool. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want everybody to know?
I don't think so. I just think this is so cool what you're doing. And I am obsessed with your shop. And I love that you've created a media platform to share the content that's in your store. It's so exciting. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the really fun part for me is getting to share everybody else's work. It's like I have, I make things too sometimes, but it's there are all these different parts of me, but the sort of fun, easy thing for me right now is getting to share other people's creations and getting to talk about, it's so much easier to talk about how awesome other people are.
Yes.
Like make everything about yourself, right? So at least for me. So I'm really enjoying being able to share your work and being able to introduce people to you. I also think that in a shop like this, which is like a very, it's a small store, everything is carefully picked, and the stories are important. People want to know, and especially now in this time, like when people are shopping, they want to know who they're supporting and what they're getting involved in, especially people who are coming into a place like this who are concerned with intentionality.
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you so much for
it.
being a part of it.
Oh, thank you. It's honestly a dream to be a part of it. So thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll share all the information in what they call show notes.
Cool. Show notes.
And we will keep in touch, and we'll keep following you on Instagram.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find us at everydaymagicwoodstock.com. You can find show notes at everydaymagicwoodstock.com/podcast. And you can visit us in person in Woodstock, New York next time you visit. Just find our address on the website. Have a wonderful, beautiful, magical day. May it be filled with all of your intentions.